said you wish you had coffee?
Coffee. I've only got one cup.
Well,
Focus
I've got one cup too. Well, welcome to the Yang Gang Roundtable. I hope you have coffee, listeners, viewers. It is 10:14 at 10:14 on Friday, June 12th, 2020. I'm here with Angelo, Disdonn, Faye, Jeremy, and Sheridan. Thank you all for coming. We are a basic income advocacy podcast, and we talk about electoral politics and poverty as well. A lot going on in the news right now. Everything ties to poverty, electoral politics, and humanity, equality, broad systemic equality across all vectors. Freedom. That's just one. That's a word. There's a whole lot to unpack. So who'd like to get things started?
I mean, I did drop a thing in the chat last night, so I wouldn't forget. Was there anything else before we get on to the can't sue Trump if you go to his rally and get COVID?
No, that's a good place to start. You can't sue Trump if you go to his rally and get COVID. What is that about?
Well, apparently, the link is an article about the online registration for his rallies coming up because he is running for re-election and he's actually doing rallies. There's a disclaimer that you have to sign saying that there's going to be a risk of exposure to COVID and that you can't sue them. Also, that you are not allowed to wear masks or social distance at said rallies.
That's insane. That sounds unrealistic. That's like you're signing your death warrant. What the hell? Really? I believe it, but that's just amazing. That's incredible.
I definitely believe it because he's come out in support of a Republican-led bill to provide legal immunity to all businesses during the reopening of this economy from anyone, customer or employee, that catches COVID-19.
My only hope is that because so many people are going to be wearing no masks and so close together that hopefully somebody gives it to him and he finally is off our slate of enormous problems to have to overcome. Because we got a lot of shit we got to do and he is not going to let us do it. I
mean, he's not the problem. He's a symptom of the problem. You know, someone will replace him who will also not let us do anything we want.
He's one of those symptoms like you're more at risk if you have these symptoms, kind of a symptom.
That's fair enough, I suppose.
He's a symptom that has control of the military.
Our biggest issues are widespread inequality, heightened by our economic and racial issues, our inaccess to healthcare, heightened by our pandemic, and a just dramatic loss of direction for a majority of our population at this point.
So I actually went and decided to buy some life insurance for me and my son. Well, for my son, to take care of my son in case something happens to him, right?
It
was a question for me whether or not during COVID-19 they would honor that, because if they call it a pandemic and they call it some sort of they call it it's almost like a natural disaster, right? And a lot of insurance companies are indemnified when there is some sort of a natural disaster where there's times are unusual. So currently, I think right now they are still paying out on COVID-19 deaths because it's not actually, I think a lot of the flu deaths and things like that have actually been, they're either flu deaths and COVID-19 deaths are kind of joined together,
Yeah.
I have to go help Zephyr for a minute. I'll be back. But you guys should talk about like insurance, like in general. What do you think?
I mean, It's a great idea. My wife, due to her school district renegotiating the health insurance package and going to a different plan, she also decided to get another life insurance policy out on herself. So if she were to get it, she has $15,000 from the school plus a separate $100,000 life insurance policy that she got a long time ago. And she's definitely considering getting one out on me, considering my potential of getting a job working census.
Yeah, that would put you at risk.
Still waiting on them to get back to me on whether or not I passed their sniff test with the background check, but they said up to 8 weeks, so it's only been 4.
So I feel like this is sort of a natural disaster, but then at the same time, we have, ways to affect the outcome of it, and people need to take responsibility for that. I don't know.
I don't think, in the form of insurance, I don't think that they have ever considered a pandemic as a natural disaster, but I'm not 100% sure if that is the way things will continue.
I think the only pandemic that could have been considered a natural disaster is probably the Black Plague that actually took out a plurality of the population.
Give it time.
Oh,
I
I
mean,
completely
yeah.
understand that this is going to be devastating, but it's still not going to result in a plurality of deaths. It's going to result in a plurality of chronic, generationally lasting lung and heart damage, absolutely. But death's not that likely. If it were
deaths are
to,
gonna
we
get
would
up
have
to
a very
10%.
different response.
Well, I mean, we did see bodies being loaded into a freezer truck because they didn't have enough space at the morgue. So,
I completely agree. This is really bad, but it's not the percentage. It's not a plurality that it's going to lead to 20 or 30% of our population resulting in body bags.
And you think that will stop the insurance companies from trying to claim it is, so they don't have to pay out as much?
Oh, absolutely. Once you have that much of your market share, it's basically an implosion of money for an insurance company.
It's also an implosion for money for our health insurance companies right now. They're about, as soon as wave 2 hits, they're all going to go bankrupt.
Yeah. And there's no instrumentation or speculation that's going to pull them out of that. They're going to have to get cold, hard loans if they want to stay around.
Now, when we talk about wave 2, we're not talking about months in the future anymore. We're talking about days now.
Yeah, days from the Memorial Day vacation that America took.
sadly,
on
it's already starting in my city. We just reported 28,000 new cases.
So, Shael,
Yes.
have you been keeping an eye on how the ICUs are doing in New York?
I haven't been keeping a very close eye, but last I checked, we were okay. I don't think there's been an issue with ICUs since March in New York.
Based upon somebody else that I've been talking to about political stuff this week that also lives in New York, apparently 71% of the ICUs are at capacity right now. And they're probably going to be completely full up by the end of June, if not sooner. So
that makes sense, especially with these protests. New York being one of the epicenters of the protests.
I want to take that information with a grain of salt because they also said something that is very offensive. I will not repeat it, but basically, let's just put it that they blame a certain group of people that endured the Holocaust for spreading COVID in New York.
How exactly do the Jews bear responsibility here? I'm interested to know.
Here. I don't know. They said that there was some woman who was like the first known case, and so they're saying that they're
conspiracy theory.
Yeah, exactly. It's
if
like
there's,
I'm
if there's
wondering
a big
what
Jewish
the fuck.
Conspiracy, they do not let me in on it. It's just the other guys. They're like, don't let Shael know.
They don't let Steve know either. So
no, they don't let any of my friends. It's just. I don't know.
Maybe good conspiracy.
Maybe it's a bunch of jerk rabbis, but it's not me. I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah, I think the wet market transmission from Wuhan is still the actual origination point.
Yes, of course. Why people believe like mythical things about the origin of this is just bizarre. Like why? Where you know where diseases originate from. Like, why, when one originates in front of your eyes, do you reject the knowledge you have already? People baffle me,
Well, probably the same reason why we got 9/11 truthers still and flat earthers still.
Well, the interesting thing is it's two different strains. The one that we have actually originated, or the mutated strain, originated in Italy. That's why there's COVID L and COVID R. I forget which one of those two we have, but we have the deadlier strain.
Oh, there's more than two strains of COVID-19 mutations. There's estimated theories that there's up to 30, but there's only about 8 confirmed strains. And there's two main strains that are in this pandemic, L and S.
Yeah.
It's L for lethal and S for like spreadable. Is that the
Yes, I believe
yeah.
that's the appropriate adage.
Yeah, and
'cause the L
unfortunately, we
strain is
got the
way
COVID
bigger.
L.
Yeah.
Yeah. L is like the way more deadly version, and
Ugh.
it's if that information about the ICUs being near capacity in New York City is true, then that means that people will not be able to get admitted to the ICUs if they're lethally, possibly sick with COVID, which means that they will be spreading it to their immediate caregivers, which will likely be friends and families and neighbors. And right now, I just did a quick calculation using a calculator, doing division of how many dead over how many cases confirmed in the U.S. and we're still at about a 6% mortality rate. That might get up to 10 though.
Why would the mortality rate be rising now?
If we no longer have ICUs to contain the infection. And the bodies, if they are discovered after death, will still be possibly contaminated because, as you may understand, how dead bodies work. They bloat, they secrete gases and internal fluids as they rot and convalesce. So anyone who's exposed to that might be
I do want to add a little nuance to Disdonn's point here. While yes, if someone doesn't go to the ICU and does have a severe case of COVID, they and their corpse can be contagious, but this isn't like the Black Plague. There isn't massive external cellular damage that's going to allow fluids and bloating and gases to happen. A corpse from a COVID patient will still be contagious, but it's going to be like a normal corpse.
Well, I'm more considering the fact that this is now summer and there's been a few blackouts in various areas of the U.S. because that's what happens during the summer. And so, the if you die during summer heat and then someone discovers your body, there's likely going to be a difference of
it's not going to be pleasant.
Storage.
It's not going to be pleasant to find, but it's not going to be a horror scene. Corpses are actually pretty self-cleaning because of the mechanisms of death and life.
Well, again, if they're significantly ill with coronavirus, they're likely going to be coughing up blood and phlegm and various things up to the point of their death. So again, these people are probably going to be taken care of by significant others, by neighbors. Those people are probably going to have to still go into town to get supplies, go to grocery stores. So, I mean, we don't know.
I completely agree
how many are going to get, but it's gonna get worse.
Well, I'd like to add some nuance to this really quick, and some medical nuance. So, in the case of COVID, it requires live cells to replicate. Hence why it attaches itself to the lungs, and it basically copies its DNA. And as those live cells replicate, it's producing new viruses. Well, new virus cells. The problem is, after death, is there is no living cells in the body after at least a few hours. So, the body that is there would only be as contagious as the amount of COVID virus present in the body at the moment of death, and those viruses can only survive by transmitting to a new host. So, assuming that the body has been left for a while, you would actually find that it is no longer contagious because the mechanism for contagion died with the person.
Yeah, but a while is a big question mark, Could that be 12 hours, 24 hours, 36 hours? Who knows?
Yeah, if it's someone who they know and are trying to help take care of, we don't know if they routinely check in on them or if, the person just is laying dead for a couple of days. But still, as the deaths increase, we're going to have more economic hardship. I posted a link to the BuzzFeed article about our impending economic doom if we don't get any more bailouts for the people, not the businesses, but for the people, because all that stuff's due to expire in the next month or two. The unemployment and all of the business stuff, I believe the deadlines for some of that is coming up. And as soon as that happens, then, a lot of renters are going to be asking to collect, and people have been out of work for a while. So
the main due dates are July, I believe, 1st and 15th. The first is when the PPP repayments begin for those who were uneligible to have the free money. July 1st also ends the unemployment $600 a week flat unemployment benefit. And I believe the 15th is when business taxes turn to normal payment.
Yeah.
Well, that's disturbing.
The expression on your face hearing that, Shael, is just like someone realizing that there's an atomic bomb coming down from the sky and about to blow up, and they're like, "Well, so long and thanks
and the
for
training." And the training from the state is say, "Get under the desk."
I'm not realizing it. It's just all stuff that I've been, aware of to varying degrees because I read Twitter nonstop. And it's just, you realize all these different things are coming to a head at the beginning of like August, end of July, beginning of July sometimes. It's really scary. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm also I'm out of money. I'm like, everyone I know is out of money again. And now there are protests and everyone's going to get sick from, we don't know who is going to get sick from having been to the protests yet. We're just going to start to find that out in the next couple of days, and that's going to compound everything else that's going to happen at the June, July, August mark. So I don't know. It's just overwhelming.
Shael, the protests that we've seen are still going on, and they have been going on for over a week now. We're only going to start seeing the first results in 3 to 5 days from the very first protests.
Yes, thank you. You articulated that better. What I was trying to say. That's what we're just waiting for the.
So over the next 2 weeks, we will start to see what these first wave of protests have started to spread with. But I don't think it's going to be as bad as the memorial spike we're seeing, because the memorial spike was a very different context than the protests.
Mm-hmm.
The memorial spike was vacations, a lot of having fun, cookouts. There's really no opportunity for masks or social distancing in that. But while these protests can't social distance, everyone had masks. People were protected and layered up, not only from the virus, but from police activity.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that was the difference maker, but it's just a hope. We don't really know the gritty physics of transmission detail, So
yeah, this is going to be an amazing case study for epidemiologists for the next few decades.
I mean,
exactly.
A lot of the police that we saw didn't have masks on, so maybe that'll help.
Ideally, we defund the police directly.
Well,
defunding with body bags.
Well, I will actually disagree with one point on that. Later protests had masks. Many of the first protests that we saw, there was virtually no one in the crowd that had a mask on, and they were packed in tighter than sardines.
True. Some for those localities, they may see more of the Memorial Day spike carry on, but I do think, like you were saying, the later protests had better protection.
I just love how a lot of right-wing media conspiracy theories are trying to say that the protests are going to spike coronavirus we never did social distancing. It's like, no, that's not how this is going to go down at all. Because you saw way more people being way closer and without masks in the Memorial Day spike, and remember July 4th is coming up too. So if there's no closures of things, if there's no national quarantine that's reinstated, and considering we have President Trump, that's probably going to be the truth where we're still out of quarantine. We're going to see a lot more cases after July 4th too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, most definitely. I would like to segue into something else about Trump recently. Did any of you see the argument that Trump had with the Fed where the Fed chair is saying we are facing a long and drawn-out recession going into possibly a depression worse than the Great Depression, and saying that we need something like a universal basic income where we just give cash directly to the people because that's the only way we're going to
No way.
reclaim the
Powell
economy.
said that?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
I need to see that. I need
Yeah,
to
me
see
too.
Powell saying we need universal basic income. That is an unbelievable statement. He is in a position unique enough he could actually do it. And with the current political pressure, he could probably do it on his own without Congress.
Well, then I think we have found our point of pressure, which is push him, right? That's the strategic move at this point. That's the tactic.
Well, don't get me wrong. This wouldn't be exactly legal, and it would have to go into Congress eventually. But he could, through emergency measures, make every Social Security number a bank.
Hypothetically speaking, yes.
Yeah, that would be amazing. He could even do that. Could he do that without the president's permission?
That's what I mean. He is in charge of an
That's a private
independent
bank.
private company in charge of dispersing cash to every bank in America.
Hilarious.
And
That
he
could
is
be
also in
hilarious.
charge of Social Security disbursements.
He could do it despite Trump.
He could.
And everyone would support him.
The question is
And
the
he'd get away
political
with
pressure. And yeah, like I was saying, this wouldn't be exactly like constitutional. It would need to go through Congress after this emergency. But he could do it under an emergency context.
Think about the reality of it. Think about him doing it. Money showing up as if a miracle in the accounts of people whose life it will save immediately, and then it going to Congress. And if anyone in Congress is not in support of this, they're going to be out in November, or well, they'll not this November, but when there's a congressional election, or if there is, whenever they're up for election, will be.
Around to a lot of things we were talking about in the Twitter DMs.
Yeah.
Well, to tack on
that's
to
insane.
the statement about the Fed actually flat out saying that we need a UBI, not only is Trump disagreeing with the Fed, he's actually trying to use emergency powers to take control of the Fed right now.
Holy shit, that would be equally unprecedented in the opposite direction.
We're getting
Yeah.
Which basically
Yeah.
creates a top-down command and control economy similar to
North
Soviet Union.
Korea.
These are theories people have been talking about for decades, finally being tested. These governmental what ifs.
Not just governmental what ifs, like incredible economic what ifs, because we've speculated and leveraged our financial sector to its absolute maximum efficiency. And we're seeing how brittle that efficiency is in the market. But the fact that Powell is saying there's nothing that the infinite money, there's no more debt that can be bought by the Fed through the central banking system is insane.
This is like the best news I've heard in a while.
It really is.
Yeah, that's really good. We need to see some links on this, I think.
Absolutely, we do. Like
if
Jeremy,
you-
could you find us that him saying those beautiful words?
Well, I've got the statement pulled up right here. I don't quite see it here. But I'm going to post it here. Maybe somebody can see what I'm overlooking. But this is the statement from yesterday.
Yeah, he doesn't say the words UBI or Universal Basic Income. He says that we need to give money directly to the people,
I mean,
That-
Yeah.
which is
that's what it
exactly what a
means.
UBI is.
So
most
he might actually be in support of more than just a minimum, an absolute poverty basic income. He may be in support of an actual income that can get the economy going, like around $4,000 or $6,000 a month.
Oh my God, transformative to society. We could be on the cusp of like a new human era.
Not by the numbers, this would eliminate suicides. That's how transformative this would be.
That would be good.
We have to make this happen.
No kidding.
Well,
Where'd
think
Faye
about
go?
this in a weird
They
way.
had to deal with Zephyr issues, and
She has
then
to. I know, but she has to. She has to know
Faye-
about this.
Faye had to do some other stuff as well. So again,
We'll find her. I'm sure she'll.
DMs.
Just wanted to give a shout out to Jacqueline. She couldn't attend today, unfortunately. She was unable to get some things taken care of with her health, and she's taking a bit of a rest for today. But we spoke last night about this, and me and her actually went over the statement. But I want everyone to think back on this and just let this stew in your mind for a moment. Andrew Yang, when he was running, everyone said that this was a crazy, radical idea. In just the time since he has suspended in February, the Pope has endorsed a universal basic income. Trump was softly for a universal basic income before he was against it. And the head of the Fed just said that we need a universal basic income to save this country. Yeah. Just
Well put.
think about that for a second.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of things going down right now that I don't even know if we're going to make it to November if some things don't happen soon.
It doesn't even sound like
really
hyperbole
bad.
to say it. Like the most fundamental aspects of our society are now in breakdown and free fall. In just non-function mode. You know, we have primaries that come and go. We're like the highest officials of the land nervously say as little as they can about them, and they just sort of don't happen. So I think that's the tip of the iceberg for more erosions of what we imagine are the unalienable American rights we have.
I mean, our Congress has not actually convened to discuss the protests. They haven't convened to discuss the fact that we need immediate stimulus, that the coronavirus is coming back with a fucking vengeance after Memorial Day. They have not released any statements condemning the president for all of his tweets and trying to get the military to turn against the citizens of the United States for executing their First Amendment rights to protest. I mean, we are in a situation where all levels of government, except for the president, are fucking mute.
And even the president to some extent, because a leader is only as powerful as the people willing to follow. And right now we're seeing society break down to the point where the authority that he has is breaking down at all levels. In fact, on the news, his chief of staff had issued a public apology because he was ashamed to even be present when Trump tear-gassed a bunch of priests and protesters for a photo op.
Yep.
Oh yeah, Lafayette
He
Square.
held the Bible upside down and backwards.
Yep.
Yep. So
Yeah.
he, it's bad when your own military is saying, "I'm embarrassed to be seen with you."
That's a good segue to what I just posted from the New York Times. Because of the way that they are dealing with trying to get the convention dealt with after Trump picked a fight with the North Carolina governor, they basically just copy-pasted the 2016 platform of the Republican Party, which condemns the quote-unquote current president, which Obama, but that's almost like they're deliberately praying for help right now. It's like, please, somebody, please get rid of this guy, because we can't say anything bad about him because he's still got enough crazy people with guns that'll come to our doors and kill us if we're outright against him, but please save us from ourselves.
It does sound like a cry for help.
It's amazing.
It really does.
Yeah.
But you know what's beautiful about this moment is I suspect that not only is Trump losing any shred of goodwill that he had left, I suspect that the DNC right now is so scared shitless of Biden putting his foot in his mouth one more time, that they may actually bump him off and start looking at the runners-up.
No, how could they? What would the mechanism for that be?
Well, the mechanism is Tom Perez and the entire board of the DNC nominating whoever they want. That's the process.
Okay, yeah.
It's the process it's always been.
Yeah,
Right, so they might just do it and let it.
Yeah, in 2016 when Bernie tried to sue the DNC, that's when it was released that they're a for-profit corporation and that the votes are a suggestion, but the DNC reserves the right to be able to have the final say in the selection of the candidate.
So
Yeah,
here's the thing,
incredible.
though. How far left do you think that they're going to go? They're not going to pick Bernie. They're not going to pick Yang.
No.
They're going to pick.
Go Buttigieg.
No, they're
could
not going to
actually
go
pick Yang.
Buttigieg because they know that he's just as bad for them as anyone else because he's only
They're
gay.
gonna go with Warren, you think?
Yeah, they're either going to go with Warren or who was the other
with,
terrible candidate?
Kamala Harris, because
Harris, the cop. I mean, that would be so tone deaf at this moment in time.
yes, but I think they figure that she's a black
They
woman,
have been tone deaf.
so she should be able to
She's
calm
a
the racial
cop.
tensions. And also, I don't believe that they're going to go with Klobuchar since it was kind of
Oh no.
revealed that Klobuchar had a chance to prosecute this cop and let him off the hook.
Oh,
She's
yeah.
largely responsible for the George Floyd
Yeah,
protest.
she's
Klobuchar is
directly
absolutely out.
responsible.
She is sunk. She's not going
She
to be
is
impeached. She's
incredible.
not going to be a president. She's done forever.
So, as a native Minnesotan, I never voted for Klobuchar after I found out about any of that stuff. I actively voted for the Green Party candidate for her Senate seat after she got in, and that didn't exactly work out for me, but it was definitely a protest vote because, yeah, she is as scummy as they get. I kind of miss Franken.
Yeah,
As bad as some of his, he was not near. He didn't actually commit a rape like Biden, but he, was a little bit suggestive and creepy at times back in the day when he was, way before he was, an elected official. Because he was using his comedian personality and persona to get away with a couple of cops of feels and got me too'd. But policy wise, he was probably the best senator we've had in a while, except when he turned against the state of Minnesota's votes for the suggestion of Bernie. Bernie won Minnesota, but Franken, a superdelegate, decided to go for Hillary.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's the power of the superdelegates, and that's exactly what we can see happen if they don't like Biden.
We gotta get away. We gotta get away from this system. We gotta get away from this two-party fake political system.
I actually think this is a great system because it opens up a lot of opportunity. Like we are seeing in this current election, the Libertarian and Green Party have a real chance of getting federal funding, which nationally recognizes them as a federal party.
I hope so, but I mean, there's nothing that the federal parties that exist will not do in tandem to stop that from happening, and when they get together, they can do a lot.
Absolutely, but they are completely disorganized right now, like utterly disorganized.
Yeah, but when they see a threat to their life, they'll get together to stop it.
Not if it happens too fast.
I
The
hope
question,
I can see the Republicans dissolving,
really
Democrats
hope
being left on the right.
I hope the Libertarians and Greens are ready to strike when the opportunity arises. I hope so.
right now we're in a very, very precarious situation with the two-party system. We have seen that it is not working. And if, as we have suggested, because Biden is probably going to put his foot in his mouth one more time, because he's already done it. He's already done the blind and deaf comment about
shoot them in the leg.
Yeah, shoot them in the leg. He's already done that. And it's like, oh, if he says one more stupid thing like that, like, the DNC's going to take away the votes.
Why are they waiting?
Somebody. Well, because they want to wait until the last damn minute. They waited until the last damn minute
it's going to be the last
impeach,
day of the convention.
And they waited until the last day to impeach, and they gave the worst possible crimes to try and impeach on that aren't actual crimes. because
Are you talking about the actual impeachment process earlier this year?
Yes.
Oh, that was all that they actually had the evidence for, and it was beyond enough. What they tried, the 2 counts of high treason that they tried him on, were more than enough to get rid of any other president. But he had too many friends in the Senate.
Well,
That's
No,
what the impeachment boiled
that
down
thing
to.
what they
wasn't his
put out
friends.
really was weak. And if you look at the evidence that they presented when they actually did the whole thing on C-SPAN, they didn't put out all the evidence. They put out abuse of power and being held in contempt of Congress. Those are the only 2 charges that he had, and they put out the weakest case possible. There are
Those
multiple
are also 2 things that weren't that aren't actually illegal. They're not in and of themselves crimes, which is why the Republicans so quickly acquitted him.
Well, not only that, they are identical to a historical past impeachment during the very first time we tried to impeach a president in this country. The charges were literally verbatim, and it didn't work then. So why did they think that it would work now? There were other areas where he had clearly violated the Constitution as far as the emoluments clause goes, and many people brought it up, but none of those charges were actually brought to bear.
Yeah,
If
I mean,
those
his
had
son-
actually come up.
His son went on a hunting trip for $75,000 of taxpayer money last year. And his son isn't part of his cabinet. His son is not part of our government in any way, shape, or form. But he still used taxpayer-funded security.
That might highlight one of the larger problems of our 2-party system, which is precedent. If they had this precedent, like it didn't work a couple hundred years ago, and they actually tried to go after the economic luxuries, then they may also see these lawsuits against them, which I agree they should, but it may hint to why they didn't pursue what was a little bit more tangible.
Yeah, glass houses and all.
Are there any states that are pursuing or considering pursuing legal action against the parties in light of the reveal that they're private corporations and have kind of been denying or potentially denying people democracy?
I believe that the current framework is capitalistic democracy.
Mm-hmm.
Make your own party organization and try and get 5%. I think that's the framework that the entire system is just letting be.
Just letting exist. Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, so who is it, do you think, that we should back then? The Libertarian Party or the Green Party?
Libertarians chose their nominee, and I think that they chose wrong. I'm going full Green, and I think everyone else should, as the Greens are the only ones who are actually in support of anything like a UBI.
I don't know much about Howie Hawkins.
I mean, he doesn't explicitly state that he's pro UBI in his platform. However, everything else that Bernie was for, everything that was in Jill Stein's campaign, the Green New Deal, all that stuff, that's still there. So I mean, it's about as good as we're gonna get.
Do you think people have been talking? Oh, sorry, Don. Do you think people have been pressuring Howie Hawkins to include a UBI? Like
100%.
Yeah. So where is that? I'm like, what's his response been like that? And who's been talking to him? Has Yang Gang Group's been talking to him?
What I think his response was if Vermin Supreme had been nominated, he would have added it to his platform. But since Jorgensen was nominated, he doesn't need to add it to his platform. So that's essentially where we stand.
I mean, people for it, a lot of people in the Green Party are for it, but damn, did the Libertarians pick the most far-right Libertarian person they could have picked.
That's too bad.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, that's unfortunate.
One of Jorgensen. They picked
I've never heard this guy. I don't know this guy.
Girl.
Girl, okay.
And Rand Light.
That's terrible.
So,
all right, well, great pick. Great pick, guys.
One of the highlights of the Green Party, though, is the Green New Deal, which I would be shocked, genuinely shocked, if there wasn't some form of direct payment to citizens, either for social justice reparations or carbon tax credits.
Yeah, there's a lot of money to the people in the Green New Deal that's being proposed by Howie. So, yeah.
How would individual carbon tax credits potentially work? Does anybody know?
I'm so sorry, what?
So how would tax credits on an individual basis work?
Oh, exactly the way
Carbon
that
tax, yeah.
deductions work now. You fill out your tax form, claim what you've done, and every few hundred people out of 1,000 get audited.
So as an individual, what kind of claims could I make to have reduced carbon emissions?
It depends on what you do. For example, if you own a large amount of land and you have a forest there, then that's a natural carbon sink. If you're doing active carbon sequestration through technological means or through other semi-natural means, then you could claim that as well. But it would be based on actions that you and your assets are actively taking.
Let me ask, theoretically, say you're like a long-term unemployed person, this carbon tax credit or whatever it's called, this carbon benefit becomes institutional and normalized, and people use it all the time. Could you just start planting trees and say, yeah, I spent 4 hours planting trees today and pay me $50 or $100 or whatever? I don't know.
So depending on
how's it work?
how the system itself is set up would really answer that. But in essence, yes, you could do that until you get audited. And then a representative from the IRS will be like, oh, yes, so where's your assets sinking in carbon? And you'll have to produce them and show that you've been doing it year after year to justify the rebates or tax deductions, depending on what side of the wealth gap you're on.
I mean, by the time that they get around to auditing you, it probably would be a completely different system anyway. But it is, if you missed the discussion a little bit earlier in the Twitter chat, the link for the tweet about looking forward to speaking with Jorgensen for POTUS, yeah, that didn't go very well. Like, legitimately, Jorgensen disagreed with everything our friend Zach was stating, especially UBI.
Ugh, yikes.
Let me guess. Libertarian answer was no, the government needs to be smaller and the private sector should be providing jobs.
Yep.
Yeah, which unfortunately, unless we are in deep manufacturing or low skill extraction, that doesn't actually work anymore. We are in high skill service sector work, which doesn't allow for such expansive private sector luck, basically.
And it's also not equivocate. It's not even taking into account an individual person's greed to create a monopoly, which we've seen over the last couple decades.
Oh, wow. She's against antitrust as well?
Nice.
Now, that's an extreme small government position, because that's as extreme as abolishing the military entirely.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like the little bit that was stated by Zach in our Twitter DMs was pretty damning for the Libertarian Party.
Yeah, that is incredibly damning because, I like the idea of small government. I like libertarian ideals, but when they have genuine, real economic theory under them, not just right-wing ideology.
So let's talk about Howie Hawkins. How can we push him to get to accept UBI?
Political pressure. I mean, if we end this year with the Green Party getting over 5% and a lot of people signing up as Greens, then in the next 4 years, it's going to be him versus Yang on a UBI platform.
I mean, if we make it 4 years, God only knows what's going to happen in November.
I completely agree. Like I've been saying, the best case scenario to get the American Renaissance kicked off right is for the DNC to wake up to what they really need to do, which is nominate Andrew Yang and get a UBI in July 2021.
I would like to remind everyone, We just got a Yang Gang elected. Dr. Jermaine Johnson has officially won this.
Yes.
Hearing.
Thank you for bringing that up. That is some much needed good news and very heartening to remember. Let's talk about that.
Oh yeah, he's going to landslide the primary or the actual election.
Yeah,
And
what
we
state
have
was
a
it?
very
North
real
Carolina
chance.
or South Carolina?
South Carolina.
South Carolina.
Yeah, I remembered it was a Carolina. I'm just like, which one was it? North or South? God damn it, I get them mixed up.
Yeah, and we have a very real chance of also dethroning the demonic turtle.
Mitch
Yeah.
McConnell.
Broiler.
Breuer.
So when Breuer. Sorry, I mispronounced the name, but yeah, they have to win though.
Yeah, I was gonna say, did Breuer already win his primary? Because I thought that was like in July or something.
Not yet.
His primary is still going, so anytime that we can name drop him, please do. But he fits the bill of the top 3 things that a Kentuckian would need to hit. He is a veteran, he is a farmer, and he is a family man and a member of their community.
Yep, that's it. That wins every Kentuckian vote.
I mean, you say that, but his worst competition has stated they have $19 million on hand with an M, and that's
Yes.
Amy
yeah,
What's
but
her nuts.
McConnell is like
competition-
killing people at this point. I'd be hard pressed to see McConnell hold on to his seat, even with $50 million in his bank.
No.
Even-
It's the primary that I'm talking about because his.
Oh,
you're
McGrath. Yeah, that
McGrath,
guy.
yes.
Oh, you're talking about the Trump supporter.
Yeah.
She has literally said, and I quote, that Mitch McConnell hasn't been. The reason why Kentucky is suffering is because Mitch McConnell has not implemented more of Donald Trump's policies. And if she was elected, she would make sure that Trump's policies were implemented in full.
And she's running as a Democrat in the
Policies.
Democratic primary.
A Democratic Trump supporter. All
Yes.
right, that's an interesting one.
A blue dog, as
No.
they're referred
A
to.
dino, Democrat in name only.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like a Democrat
She-
thing we should really strive to be being anyway, but yeah.
I agree. Democrats are the new right-wing party. Libertarians are genuinely kind of a central party, and then Greens are a left party. And that's still not left enough for most of the Yang Gang.
I would honestly say that Yang embodies what the Democrat Party used to be.
Oh,
what
I
their
agree.
values used to be.
It's what they're supposed to be on, what they pretend to be on paper, but they're not anymore. They don't embody that.
Yeah.
Corporate money. If corporate money were to get out of politics, a lot of things would change. But that is,
Oh, no. We need to have corporate money alongside people-powered money.
So, do I hear democracy dollars?
Democracy dollars for $100.
I mean, 300 million voters with democracy dollars is a lot of money. So, I mean, it's not a bad idea.
No, we change
No, not
everything.
all. And like Andrew Yang said, it would wash out the lobbyist money because you get a larger pool of voters. You're going to outraise your opponent. Now, I would like to bring up an interesting fact that came to light about Dr. Jermaine Johnson's campaign. And this is something I feel like the Yang Gang that listening to our podcast and any guests that may want to come on need to hear. So, Dr. Jermaine Johnson's opponent raised all of his money, not a single penny, from actual people. It was all corporate donors. Dr. Johnson raised the exact same amount to the penny from voters in his district, entirely people, and voters in all 50 states, including Puerto Rico.
Nice.
Yeah, some widespread support.
I
Yeah.
mean, the same thing's going on with Breuer, but we've not yet gotten to the point where a victor has been picked in that primary yet. Because I think the votes are like another week or two out.
Yeah, that sounds about right. But the DNC, the actual convention is like July 20th or something, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right.
Yeah, because I'm fairly certain all primaries have to be done by the general conventions.
Actually,
So that's
isn't it in August, if I remember
yeah.
correctly? Because it and then it
Yeah,
only leaves
it's
like 2 months before November.
Yeah, August 17th.
Oh, there you go. So it's
Oh,
like a
really?
month later.
Then what's going on in July? Because I know the DNC has another thing going in July, like a smaller convention. Or was that last year?
Yeah, I'm trying to pull it up. Sorry, it's taking me a second here. But yeah, this year's the actual DNC convention it starts on the 17th and ends on the 20th.
Of August?
Yes, of August.
Cool. Okay. I might be thinking of
Is
a
there like
different primary then.
Is there like a preliminary vote in July or something? I don't know. Yeah, I'm
I
not
think
sure
that's
what
when the
you are.
last states are voting.
Okay, must just be that.
But I have a feeling that with Biden's dementia getting worse and his natural inkling to be a gaffe machine becomes worse, they're probably going to dump him in favor of another candidate.
Yeah, that brings us back to whom, and we said possibly Kamala Harris and
Well,
possibly
it's
Elizabeth Warren.
the DNC is going to just react off the political pressure. So I actually am curious, Angelo, in this letter from Powell, I only see to support the flow of credit to households and businesses as like the only way that he supports a basic income.
Did you see the verbal statement that he made, not the written statement?
No, I did not see the verbal statement. Let me look for that.
Yeah, Google that. He actually goes off on quite a long speech, but one of the main things that he states is that the only way that we're actually going to build up the economy and keep us from falling into a true depression is for us to actually be giving money directly to people so that they can spur the economy, because no other methods are working. And he, I believe, said, and don't quote me on this, but I believe he said that this is the only way that we can actually save our country. Like, he was very, very adamant that this was, a last resort that he was pulling out, and just said, we need to do this.
And now Trump is trying to prevent him from being able to do that.
Correct.
What are the details on that?
Right now, Trump is saying that the Fed has been wrong in the past. He believes that in the next quarters to come, that we are going to see an uptick in the economy, and that by the third quarter, the economy is going to be booming again.
Okay. I don't even know how to address that because he doesn't even believe it. I don't know. What does one do with the Mad King?
Yeah, it is. It's clearly delusion and wishful thinking at this point, because the numbers don't add up, and honestly, like, our country is in such disarray right now.
Yeah, how could he be convinced that he would be beloved and he would be more powerful if he would just capitulate here? And then you could get on with the crazy things he would like to do, Why can't we convince him of that? It's in his interest to capitulate here so he can be a better monster for himself, right? Why doesn't he get that through his head?
The idea is not his, and he has the best ideas. He's a very stable genius, Shael.
All right, so he has to have the idea. How can he have the same idea? We have to have him have the idea. That's the solution.
I thought of it before Andrew Yang. I have the best ideas. He wrote his book based on my book. There's a chapter in there. It's in the fine print.
That's right.
Really
you're right.
Fine print.
You joke, but if we can get enough pundits saying, "Hey, the real architect of universal basic income is President Trump in his book in 1987," when he was a Democrat. But yeah, I bet if we did get a lot of pundits,
it's all in the art of the
started
deal.
Believing that hype, that might be a real way to get him to sign on to UBI. What do you think?
It's the deal of universal basic income. It's in the back. It's in the fine print. But if you look real hard with a magnifying glass, it's there, folks. I'm telling you. Believe me.
I can hear him really doing it. I can hear him saying it.
Yeah, but when?
I don't know.
Because like you said, another 4 years, a lot of us can't wait.
Oh, no, we need it tomorrow. We need it yesterday. We need it today.
Absolutely.
And it could happen today if he would just get on board. Come on, big guy. Do us one solid one time.
What it is he's so afraid of being perceived as not doing enough. He's being perceived as, oh, the economy's going bad under your watch. So he has to play the tough guy role and say, no, the economy is fine. The ship is not sinking. Hi, Brazil is not sinking.
Well, just frame it as a bonus. Like, the economy's been so good that I, the benevolent genius president, would like to give every citizen a bonus for participating and making our economy so good, right? Just frame it that way.
Oh, man, that was smooth as silk.
I'm a producer, baby. It's what I do. I don't know where that came from. I don't know what I was doing.
That was a classic quote from the 1930s.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's true. It's the same thing. Just, I mean, it's... what I'm really thinking is like my rooting in the like sort of academic training of a game designer, which I have a little bit of. But basic psychology, if you're updating a video game, if you nerf something, the player base is not happy. But if you buff everything around it, affecting effectively the same thing, the player base is fine. They love it. They're like, yay, better balance. So frame it as a bonus. Frame it as a bonus because the economy is doing well and we're going to make it do even better, or we're going to move it to unprecedented levels. It's the same fucking money going to the same people through the same channels. I don't care who takes the credit. I just want the money. Do it. Let's make it happen.
Oh, and you know Trump is, if he actually pulled that off, he would brag nonstop. Look at the amazing numbers. We went from COVID and all this mess, which was really bad, folks. It was really bad. And then, we got it fixed. We got the economy booming. I mean, it's the best economy in the history. Bill Clinton's economy in the 90s couldn't touch this. Obama couldn't get the economy rolling like I've gotten the economy rolling. It's amazing, folks. It's unprecedented. This is history in the making.
That's it. I mean, I'm not even like, it's funny, but I'm not kidding. I think this could work, and I want to make it happen. I don't know how.
We all want UBI, but I'd rather go with the earlier idea of getting the head of the Fed to do it on his own first before resorting to El Cheeto dictator.
Well, maybe it works like this, like the head of the Fed does it, and then Trump just takes the credit like that.
Right.
Yeah. He's the type of person that would too.
We say to him, if you're listening, big guy, this is an option for you. We won't tell.
What's the Fed trying to do that he doesn't want to be done?
Give people money.
The chairman of the Fed has advocated for UBI. He didn't use those exact words. He said that the only way to save our country is to give the people direct cash payments, to put the money in the people's hands. And that's the only way to actually recover this country. Otherwise, we are heading for a crash far worse than the Great Depression, and we're going to be in there for a long, long time.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I mean, that idiot. Oh, my God. Like, he's just getting it straight from the horse's mouth, and he doesn't want to listen to them. And he's been getting free money his whole life.
Yeah, his argument is the Fed's been wrong in the past, and they're wrong again. We're going to see a huge uptick in the second quarter, and we're going to have a booming economy like you've never seen in the third quarter.
Now, do you think he himself believes it? That's the question.
Not likely.
We should like now there should be protests for Trump to listen to the Fed. I mean, as much like anger and frustration people have at the Fed, they finally said something, good for once. And now, God, like that. I don't know. It just kind of I really thought that he'd have no problem with this. Like, Trump, if you're so goddamn rich, why don't you just send your own money and give it to help the economy? It's like, what an idiot. Like, I will take
but it's not really rich. Yeah. It's all loaned from Russia and China.
Look, big guy, you can send me a check with your name on it every month, and I'll tell people, hey, President Trump is sending me money. I don't care. Just send me the money. You can take all the credit in the world. You be the most popular president in history. You're missing the opportunity to be the reality star you want to be. What are you doing? Why? This is your shot. Please take it.
Yeah. Geez. So does anybody have the link to where the Fed just said send direct cash payments?
Unfortunately, I've been looking for it, and I haven't been able to find any video or other news clipping of his verbal statement.
Yeah, and it was the verbal statement that he said this in, and that's what Trump is arguing with them, saying that the Fed is wrong and has been wrong, because in his verbal statement, he, you could tell that he is looking at this like, I have tried everything else. This is my last resort. I didn't want to resort to this, but, here it is. We just need a UBI.
Who
Just
said
like Trump knee-jerk rejects the premise. He's like, I can't be your last resort. You're wrong. Right?
It may be.
That was more of a Nixon impression, but it's on point.
Yeah, Nixon on the inside. I cannot do Trump because I have a New York accent myself, so I can't differentiate.
The thing is, you got to do something that is kind of a mix between Queens and someone that's on LSD.
Yeah.
Just think Queens and LSD.
That is not what someone on LSD sounds like.
So what bad LSD sounds like. Very, very tainted.
That's cocaine more. That's cocaine.
Much like Trump.
Right. Yeah, there you go. LSD would give us a much better president, Angelo.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think that we could have a bad enough trip to be where we're at now. And I've had some pretty bad trips.
You cannot be an egomaniac on an ego suppressant.
That's true.
That is true. I mean, if we could pivot to the link that I shared, apparently Zoom has been shutting down some accounts after political activists were holding speeches and such honoring the anniversary of the Tiananmen Square massacre. And if you know anything about Zoom, they're heavily backed and financed by Chinese interests.
Well, that explains their security.
Which wants to remember that Tiananmen never happened, and China's always been great.
Wow.
Well, I mean, Trump is pushing for our own Tiananmen Square, so...
No, he did it. Lafayette Square.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't think... I didn't see anyone get run over by a tank yet, but...
Well, cops have been doing it. I think that
he's
counts.
Pushing for it. Well, yeah, although...
It's been very close to that.
Yeah, we've been in the neighborhood of it. We've definitely been in the neighborhood of it. We haven't gotten there quite yet, but if Trump gets his way of saying, you have to hurt the protesters bad enough that they never want to come back...
Protesters UBI today, half of them will go home.
I know, right? Seriously, that half of them are out there just because they don't have any.
And I'm not saying they should. I'm not saying they should even.
You know what? Give everyone a UBI and declare it Trump Day. How about that?
I'm in favor. Whatever it takes. I don't care. Do it.
Declare it Trump Day. Everyone go and spend.
I actually have a price. I have a price to give Trump a holiday, and it's at least $4,200 a month.
It's a lot. $4,200. I'll give it
at least.
I'll undercut you by 2. I'm sorry. $4,000. I couldn't turn down $4,000 a month for.
No. I need that extra $200 to acknowledge Trump Day.
You're right. Yeah, I should stand with you in solidarity. 42 is a good number.
I mean, 42 would be enough. If you add that to my wife, that's 8,400 between the two of us. That's enough for me to loop myself up, go to the White House, and have him butt fuck me and declare Trump Day. That's my price.
That one that's a lot for you to take.
I will do you one better.
Yeah, that's like at least
that's
8K.
A lot. No one's asking you for that, but I mean, your dedication is appreciated and acknowledged.
I will do you one better.
Somebody's got to take it for the country, right?
Yeah.
You know what? If it was actually going to give it for everybody in the country, yeah, man. Anyway, this is a good conversation to have on the internet, right?
Yeah, if we're going to be playing these numbers, then let's do this.
This is the only conversation to have on the internet.
Yeah, fair enough. Have it at 4,500 because he is president number 45. This way, no one will ever forget that number.
Right.
That is actually very brilliant, Angelo. That is incredibly brilliant.
He thinks too, right? He's a magical thinker. He's like 45. That's it. Perfect. 45 for 45. 45 day. 45 a month.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, and the NRA will love that too.
And he will win in like a huge landslide in November too.
He would. He actually absolutely would.
He would not campaign anymore.
He wouldn't, because people would just be spending cash on his campaign.
It'd be like, wow, I used to worry how I was going to make rent. Now I'm doing things with my life and participating in society. I'm going to vote for the president. He gave me money.
Thanks,
That's
Trump.
what I'm gonna do. Right.
Yeah, you know,
And if
it
only
might
alive, they remember
if-
you.
it might
If
actually be a
only
blessing that he
he
can't
was
accept
good.
it.
Yeah. You think so?
Yeah, because
I don't
imagine
know.
if he did run another 4 years, Canada
right.
may not exist.
Yeah, I'm just afraid that if he doesn't accept it, it might just not happen.
We may just become the North American United States.
I mean, it is the United States of America. If we annex Canada and Mexico, then that's all of North America, right?
Yeah, I could absolutely see him doing that in the next 4 years.
The question is, we have more oil than Canada, so what reason would we annex Canada? Would we annex Canada and then take their universal health care system and just
No.
that's what we annex them for?
You're thinking too deep. You're thinking way too
what-
deep about this. This is
You guys, you got to think. We're going to go to Canada. We're going to go to Canada because they have all the maple syrup. And that maple syrup needs to be spread among the people.
That's a great Bernie.
You
That's a
can't
great
have.
point.
He can't have it.
Yeah.
Trump can't have it because he's very fat.
But like I could totally see him like just skipping the wall and annexing Mexico to pay for a wall on the other side of the Mexican border. Like not
I
on
mean,
the
it's
American
a-
Mexican border.
He
It's
built,
on
a
the
smaller border
he
between
built a
Mexico
wall.
and
and Guatemala.
Guatemala? Yeah, okay.
He
There's
built-
so many countries down there. I'm just like, is it Guatemala or Nicaragua that's right after Mexico?
And then
Shit.
Mexico would be paying for it.
He built a wall around.
That's how I
himself.
could see that happening.
Yeah, the annexing Central America has been an idea on the right for decades. It's not anything new.
I mean, we did build the Panama Canal, but don't technically own any of it.
Hey, don't forget that the fact we don't own things is actually a blessing as well. Guantanamo Bay is legally in space. It does not exist on Earth, legally speaking. And the United States has been has utilized that for bad things, but for a majority of things that the nation did need.
I mean, if it's not technically a part of the world, then it doesn't technically have to obey any of the world's laws, right? You don't have to obey the Geneva Conventions if you're nowhere near Geneva, if you're on the fucking moon.
That's the whole legal loophole.
That's the idea.
Because some real war crimes happen there.
We're such villains on the world stage.
We are.
It's such a strange realization to have as an American.
Which Reich are we
I
to?
was
The
a bad
fourth,
guy
the
all
fifth?
along.
Well,
how about that?
I
That's-
don't know what you're talking about.
That's the great responsibility of being the world leader and the world police, is we have to police ourselves more. And clearly, our current administration is trying to do that in the worst possible connotation.
It's a who watches the
We-
Watchmen scenario.
Yeah. We investigated ourselves, and we found ourselves not guilty. We're not guilty, folks.
Yep. We have
That's why we
qualified
only
immunity.
Now that's why everyone, because of our innocence, is getting a $4,500 bonus every month to celebrate the 45th president. Me.
Well, I mean,
Donald
like, didn't the AIG CEOs give themselves bonuses after they were bailed out?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
That's actually all an executive bonus is. Every time you hear golden parachute, that's exactly what that is. It's an exit strategy for the executives. And right-wing business activists and enthusiasts should really take note, just as much as the left wings criticize, because what that means is that leader of a company could not find a more profitable way to make money.
Than to, like, sink his own company and just leave.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To burn the ship for insurance.
Incredibly
Right,
profitable.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's like the thing about the Titanic, except like the captain was the first one to leave, and then it was like, the executives of the ship, and then like the top brass, and then every other person was just left to drown. That's basically what we got.
Well, has anybody looked into whether or not there's an insurance policy out on the United States? Because Trump's been burning this shit down for 4 years.
Good question. I wonder if someone could take out. I mean, there are probably bets.
So
I
Gamble
mean,
on all kinds of things.
if we actually look at our
Bankruptcy.
resources, the insurance payout for our actual wealth would be literally half the world.
That's not. Yeah, that's not.
You make a
possible.
good point.
He's gonna file like he's gonna file the U.S. for bankruptcy.
Oh, that would be
Like,
such a great
that's
supervillain plot if, like, before
right.
becoming president, he took out a life insurance policy on the United States, and then he was like, cash out, haha, losers, see ya.
That would be incredible.
That would be
but
what we deserve.
Yeah.
it absolutely,
I mean,
we
if the
would
United
deserve
States declares bankruptcy, does that also mean that all of his debts go away as well, since he's a resident of the United States? That is something to look into.
that. Well, it does have incredible reverberating effects on insolvency because a significant majority of the world's businesses hold their assets in cash.
I love entertaining the idea that this has all been a plot by Trump for Trump to make Trump the richest man in history.
Like, it would be hysterical, but honestly, SpaceX would be richer in 2 decades because they're going to claim Mars.
Yeah, but I mean, that's 2 decades. How long does Trump have? Who cares?
I mean, we're talking about, that Jeff Bezos guy. He doesn't even
Yeah,
own
that's
like a
his
third
motive.
of the wealth that I have.
That's the true end game.
Oh my God. Is it even
No.
remotely possible? Is there such an
No.
organization? No. There's
No,
no organization that could
This
offer to give someone a policy to take out on America of all
I
nations.
genuinely believe that Donald Trump's presidency is the karmic action for him running for presidency.
Well,
Put.
technically the
He did not wanna
World
win.
Bank. Technically, the World Bank could actually take out a policy that big, and imagine the collateral grab that they'd get out of it.
Okay, now we're talking. Do you think it could have happened?
China's doing it right now. They took over an entire port in Kenya just because the Kenyan nation owed them money and they couldn't pay during this crisis. So nations can do it. Like it is physically possible in the international stage.
All right, now we're really cooking with gas. This is a real crazy notion, but
I mean,
not
if
coming up
right
on any roadblocks. We're not
right
coming
has
up on anything to
conspiracy
disprove it,
theories,
yeah.
we gotta have our own, right? You gotta fight with
Yeah. I mean, look, I don't want to just run. I'm not going to run wild with a conspiracy theory. I'm looking for evidence. I'm looking for reasons why this isn't likely or possible. But all we're finding are small reasons why it is possible, why it is plausible. Not that it's likely, not that it happened. But
Well, if we're going around entertaining conspiracy theories, there's one that I want to postulate about our stock market, that this has been a 2-decade pump and dump scheme by the Fed.
Ooh.
And you're about to see $30,000 on the Dow go to 300.
That is also plausible in a creepy way. Also, since we're throwing out conspiracy theories here, can we go with the one where the reason why Trump has everyone sign a waiver that they can't sue if they get COVID? Everyone has to be packed in like sardines and no one is allowed to wear masks, is so Trump can fake his own death to get out of prison time?
Oh my gosh, that actually might be it.
Wow. That would be absolutely amazing. And
Because- and
it
that
sounds
fits his
so
mind.
stupid. It does. I was about to say that. I was about to say, you think most people don't think this way, but the man is really deranged. He does seem to live life like a movie, and that's a movie plot.
And he can twist it and play it off as the liberals are trying to do it, and he probably would survive anyways.
Yeah,
So,
Well,
he's not likely to die from COVID.
No, but again, he fakes his own death. He
or
goes
fakes his own sickness by getting it.
Yeah, he fakes. Well, I would say because he doesn't want to face criminal charges once his presidency is over and the courts in New York can actually arrest him on felonies. So he fakes his own death. Pence takes over and Trump hightails it to an island somewhere and, just...
And Pence pardons the dead Trump.
Yep, there you go.
Wow.
I really want this. This is just too exciting. I mean, it would be terrible, but at least maybe we get UBI after that, right?
You know what's scary is the fact that my cousins are some of the third cousins or some of the mob connections that Trump has.
Mhm.
You know, it
So
would not
bizarre.
surprise me
Yeah.
if we have common relatives then.
I wonder,
Maybe.
like it seems like the military is not too happy with Trump either
No, they're not.
because he's violating the Constitution.
Oh,
you
you
know?
missed that part, Ariel, where we were discussing the fact that one of Trump's chiefs of staff, like the highest you can get in the military, said that he was offered a formal apology to everyone because he was there when
I saw.
Trump had people gassed and, for a fucking photo op. So it's
Right.
kind of funny that even the military, the highest ranks that you can get in the military,
Right.
are embarrassed to be seen next to him.
I mean, yeah, because he's, the military is about honor and discipline, and, shady, scummy businessmen are about getting away with whatever the hell they can get away with the least amount of consequences. So they're two different sides of a coin.
So let's talk more about the stock market and this potential 2-decade pump and dump scheme. What happens if the stock market just, was it yesterday? It crashed again yesterday, didn't it?
Yeah, another 2K. It dropped.
It
So it's
crashed
back at like
twice.
24 now, something?
Yeah, 24, 26.
And yesterday the stock market didn't do like a sharp plummet. It did a slow nosedive, which it's only done one other time, and that was when COVID hit. Information courtesy of Jacqueline.
And it's not a coincidence, I think, that we got the response from the Fed saying, okay, the last time this happened, I did XYZ. I've done XYZ. I'm out of ammunition. The last thing I can do is a basic income. We got to do it.
Right.
It makes perfect sense. It all tracks. And here,
Well, there's
we've got
actually
Trump giving the no. I don't know. Yeah.
I think there's 3 or 4 tools that the Fed really has left in their pocket, and whether they want to admit it or not. They have the basic income, which they've stated, and they're trying to get Congress to do. They have zero interest rate, which they really don't want to do. They have negative interest rate, which they've said they won't do. And they also have deflationary economy, which is completely changing how debt is viewed in our society. And they absolutely won't do that right now.
I've never heard of deflationary economy. What is
I
that?
mean,
Yeah. Interestingly enough, what Trump wants to do is the zero interest rate. That's what he's pushing for.
And that's pretty.
And
they've done
we're
that.
already in the insanity. Like
It's
we're
not gonna do
below, we're below
Right.
0.5% of interest.
What
That is
we
an
have
insane.
right now is like something called lemon socialism. So I don't know if you guys can look it up. It's like when you buy a lemon, it's like a shitty car. Basically, like lemon socialism is when you bail out these failing companies and messed up companies, and it's like you're on the hook for these lemon corporations and companies, but then all the gains are just privatized. So you get the worst of both worlds. You get the worst of socialism and you get the worst of capitalism combined into like a shitstorm.
Oh, the Fed
Yeah,
already
that's-
tried that.
Yeah, we've been doing a lot
what
of
the Fed said is that they are buying any bad commodity from any business, so they'll absorb any losses.
Right. So like when you go to Vegas and when you get drunk and gamble all your money, like the Fed doesn't come in and say like, "Hey, we'll
Need
cover
some
all
more
your
money?"
losses." Right? Like you go to the casino and it's like you're negative $1 million. It's like, oh, okay, here you go. Like, it doesn't matter for you. So it's like, oh, well, I have nothing to lose. I'm gonna go to the casino all freaking day. I don't care.
Yeah,
It's like
that's-
impossible for me to lose.
That's where we're sitting with the moral hazard for the past, honestly, century that we've had our globalized economy. Because every time we have a debt crisis that's pushed off the edge by one little thing, the central banks immediately begin saving the big businesses and letting everyone else drown.
Looking at it, I mean, like, I'd like to go to Iceland. They call it the devil's socialism over there, but they just arrested all their thieves. That's what like a moral, upstanding country does. Here we
What happened in
reward
Iceland?
our thieves. They arrested all their banksters
When did this
in
happen?
their part of the world.
How
But
recently was this?
in '08 in their financial
Oh yeah, way back
crash.
then. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. I know that.
Yeah. So yeah. But but we said like no. If we let them fail, then like it's gonna hurt us too, and it ended up hurting us anyway.
Of
It's
course.
it's like it's like you have an idiot in your family that just like spends all the money on frivolous bullshit, and then just like comes to your mom and dad and just says like bail me out, and then they're like, son, we really know that like you saved up that money in your piggy bank for the new PlayStation, but your uncle just got into a car crash, so fork it over.
Yeah.
And Shael, you asked earlier, what's a deflationary economy?
Yeah, that is never heard of that before.
It's honestly a lot of economists' worst nightmare, and it's generally associated with depressions and recessions on incredible magnitudes like we're seeing now. But it doesn't have to only be in that context. If it's paired with the right social programs, it can actually be incredibly powerful, most powerfully with a static basic income. A deflationary economy is where the target inflation rate of a macroeconomy is negative or at zero, where essentially the money has constant value or increasing value. And how much that value increases depends on the overall deflation target and the actual deflation rates seen in the economy. Now, for the past 100 years, countries the world over have focused on inflation rates as the target because of population growth. You want to encourage people to produce more and continue earning money so that there's a constant increase in the money supply to account for the constant increase of people, so that there's no sudden shocks or limits on the money changing hands, which would cause incredibly sharp deflation in small microeconomic instances. But on the macroeconomy, the reason why all these nations have taken an inflationary target is because of debt. Debt in a deflationary economy has a massively different connotation. It's a incredible burden and something you only use for short-term gains with incredibly high returns. Because let's take a mortgage, something that almost every American has, and the real reason the Fed will never look at a deflationary economy until we have a UBI already in place. A mortgage is a very inflation. It's a type of security that inflation actually affects, because mortgages are on the span of 2 to 3 decades of loan. And after a single decade, you start to see enough inflation to start measuring it. The United States inflation rate is targeted at 2% year over year. So if you have a loan with an interest rate of 3%, with interest, you're only effectively paying 1% of the actual value of that house on that loan, because the other 2% is falling away to inflation. So if we focused on a 0% inflation economy, that debt would have constant value, while the house that it was speculated on would actually be deteriorating over those 2 to 3 decades. Of course, maintenance costs would increase that, and that would push inflation up, but that's honestly a waste in money. And if you had a deflationary economy, the value would essentially be the same as you maintain. So it puts a lot of things on a different context.
Yeah. Might be. I mean, that sounds like it might be a good thing to do.
It is. It's absolutely the future of our economy, but it's the transition that's the problem. Everyone has debt, at least in some form, and any amount of debt is subject to inflation and deflation because it is founded on a currency speculation.
With the UBI, though, it would make sense. We could
get rid of our debt and not live a debt-based economy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it would be kind of a reset, but that's kind of what's being asked for, isn't it?
Well, that's pretty much what we might be seeing this year.
That sounds great. I'd like a reset. I think we could all use a chance to compete on equal footing with, other generations.
And it would be great, but
Right. Like
again, it's a transition.
like no, this is the part that frustrates me the most. It's like a reset is reasonable because we've been driven in the wrong direction before we were born. It's because we were putting to this game when the people playing it beforehand were screwing it up all the time, and then they left it's like the bull went into the china shop, broke everything, and then you were just like browsing and you walked into the china shop, and then they're like, okay, you're responsible for all of these damages. It's like,
Yeah.
Well,
motherfucker, hey.
I'd say it's more like the china shop was moving around the bull, because the context of our economy, our world, the technological changes that happened in the past 100 years are so fast compared to the past 10,000 that they had no time to adjust to the new political organization and just had to pick up and go. And now we're just getting used to that speed and seeing what could actually be useful in this technological change. And the only real solution is capitalism with a basic income.
Right.
But like I was saying, it's the context that matters. If we change to a deflationary income economy tomorrow, it would be great for the wealthy people who already have cash, but everyone else would be left to die, essentially.
Jesus. Yeah.
I'm glad we could talk about this and like explain it to people who might be listening. And explain it to each other, because this is the direction we need to be moving as a society if we're going to have any kind of quality of life as individuals and
What
groups
we
going
need to
forward.
do
Yeah.
is just get the people who have a conscience, who either have deep pockets or a large following on this show, and we need to do that yesterday. So let's prioritize people who hopefully with deep pockets or a large following, preferably both, and let's just like not to say that everybody else is like irrelevant. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying how can we pierce this message to the collective consciousness? How can we penetrate to the collective consciousness as quickly as possible so we avoid the most amount of suffering? That's important.
Well, I think us as a podcast have been doing pretty well. We've been on with a couple of congressmen, congresspeople, and a couple of Yang Gang icons.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it can be frustrating to feel like we don't always have the best numbers, but we've only been doing this for 3 months.
Right. Yeah. It's good. I'm just saying that, like, how can we leapfrog this?
Yeah, I hear you. You're right. Yeah, and there's no
yeah.
reason to be complacent when we need to do more. Yes, you
Right.
are
Right.
also right.
Because Yang, like, how do we really get on some kind of radar? And that's like what the things that we've been brainstorming in the past of, like, like, what is it? Angelo can get directly in touch with Yang. Yang can get directly in touch with Joe Rogan, and then if we go on, like, what is it? The Hill.
We should drag Joe on here.
Yeah, it's something like that, because and also Joe was talking about this when he was talking to Pac-Man, I think, about like how the bootstraps thing is a load of crap, because everybody starts life in like different positions and different, they have different abilities and different circumstances.
Yep.
So it's not like equal. So like then if we should get Joe on here, and then he should shout us out on his thing. I mean, it's not impossible. And then we get more eyeballs in here, and like, think about it, like these cat videos, and like Kim Kardashian getting, like, one of those videos gets like 1 million views, and it's like this frivolous bullshit, while we're talking about like the fate of humanity, and and like a little funny happy video gets like 1 million views. It's completely backwards to me.
Actually, it makes perfect sense, because you have to think, in times of suffering like these, people turn to entertainment to escape the dark, gritty world that they live in, not to go deeper into it, which is just depressing.
Yes, I know, but yeah, it's like a numbing agent. So just like when we had in the Great Depression, everybody wanted to go to the movies, but at a certain point, the numbing agent kind of like wears off. So we're saying, but that's what we do as a society. Why do you think we have so many of these antidepressant drugs? because nobody actually wants to, get the surgery. Everybody just wants to get the Band-Aid. But, eventually the time is going to come. And since everybody has been using these numbing agents over and over and over again, we find ourselves in the, thing that we're seeing now.
As a metaphor for our political economy, right, Ariel?
Yeah.
Cool.
We've just been numbing ourselves, right? And I mean, like, if we if 30 years ago when I was born, instead of everybody just numbing themselves with like antidepressants and cat videos and getting distracted, we got an Andrew Yang in like 1988 instead of now talking about it in 2020.
Andrew Yang should have been the president immediately after Nixon during the civil rights movement.
Yeah.
Nixon was trying to get the UBI passed. Like, Nixon could have just got that passed.
He was still a politician at the time, and already getting a UBI, it doesn't exactly incentivize you to get UBI for other people.
Yeah. So it's that's the question. If we had just, not numbed ourselves for years on end and actually tackled the freaking problem.
Well, it's always been sold to us. It's always been the same propaganda. It's not like people are going, yeah, we're numbing ourselves. It's like people are misled. People are fed misinformation, and we've only just come to the point where it's not working.
Yeah, it's pretty scary. But at the same time, it provides for like the golden opportunity. And but like right before this pandemic happened, people were just sleeping on this new presidential election. I mean, I saw a woman in New Hampshire, and then they said, how did you vote? What did you do? Why did you choose a person? She said, oh, I just did like eeny, meeny, miny, moe, and whoever it landed on, I picked them. Yeah, wow, that's a great way to live your life, you dumb bastard.
Yeah, in Australia they call that a donkey vote. I've just found that out.
Donkey vote.
Yeah, you're pinning the tail. You don't know where it is.
I love it.
Why would you do that?
Well, you don't know.
Like, why vote at all if you don't know? Just who cares?
Well, I know in Australia it's actually mandatory that they vote. They can actually face a fine for not voting. So
But
Australia also has a national holiday for voting.
Yeah, but that's why people that are disengaged voters that have to vote will do what they call a donkey vote, where they'll just vote randomly because they don't really care. They have no interest haven't learned anyone that's on there. So it's just like, oh, this name looks interesting. Just fill in the bubbles and be on their way.
Which really highlights...
As stupid as that is, it's still the lesser of two evils, I think. It's probably gives you better results than most people not voting.
Nah, we have demonstrated better systems. Oregon specifically has mail-in ballots that come with pamphlets on every single name that's on that ballot and where they stand on every issue. And that is by the state.
That's good.
So yeah, we have ways of dealing with this voter malinformation.
Oh yeah, all kinds of ways. I'm just saying. Even their system, like our system, is so bad that even just mandatory is better.
Yeah, well, the reason why a lot of people slept on the primaries, you have to think a lot of it has to do with the crazy amount of work hours people have to put in just to survive.
Yeah.
Especially if you're not getting the kind of hours you need to be able to pay your bills, you're going to jump at any overtime. You might be working 2 jobs.
Not only jumping at any overtime.
Yeah, when you come home,
have
you're going to be exhausted and just go to sleep.
Even
the whole system is designed to tie you down.
It really is. Even if you aren't starving and you're working one full-time job, if you don't have the financial stability to be able to fully take care of yourself and plan for the future, you're still only going to be thinking about how to make more money instead of how to change the life around you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's your most immediate need. You're not thinking long-term. You're thinking, how am I going to be able to afford groceries or afford gas to go to work, afford to pay my bills, afford to make sure that my car insurance is up to date, so I'm walking, 20 miles to go to work, and waking up 3 hours earlier or more to be able to do that.
And to incentivize a low voter turnout that keeps Republicans strategically in power, the Republicans want to keep it that way, which is just a huge problem. And I'm sure to some degree the Democrats want to keep it that way too.
And you know what's really funny though? The data shows that getting more people to vote doesn't help either party. But what does help Republicans and right-wing ideology especially is making Election Day a national holiday.
That helps right-wing ideologies. Huh.
It does, because more people go out and drink before they go vote.
Huh.
Not sure how that helps, but okay.
It does. I believe an Australian study found that people who went out and drank voted more right. And since it's a national holiday, there's more people that can go out and drink.
Well, all right. Somebody tell Mitch McConnell.
I know, right?
Yeah, I think Mike Breuer's going to finish dealing with him.
Somebody tell Mike Breuer.
It's the
Mike Breuer. It's already on his platform.
Right.
Yeah. No, it's the tanning bed victim that we gotta deal with right now.
Well, I mean, hopefully he's going to fake his death and just fuck off with $1 bajillion, right? I mean,
I would prefer if he didn't fake it, but
I mean, if he tries to do the whole COVID thing, there is a 0.2% chance. Well, with his age rate, more like a 5% chance that he doesn't make it.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. Man, that's insane.
Well, also, what he's failing to realize, it's like, okay, well, all these people are kept at least 6 feet away from me. I should be fine. He fails to realize
indoors,
closed,
ventilated.
Yeah, closed space, a lot of people breathing, and
chanting and yelling. Not just breathing.
Yeah.
So
there's that thing that's called an airborne virus. There's not a magic 6-foot barrier that it can't cross.
He's having his thing indoors?
Yes. It's an indoor rally.
That's like a death trap. So if he does get it, he'd get the worst of it in about 2.5 weeks. He'd be like the 4th of July or so. 3 weeks. Right?
Dies on
if he is to kick off,
would
it
we
might
be
be
independent of him?
And also the
Someone
viral
get that corpse dance meme up.
The viral load is going to be probably gigantic.
It's going to be massive.
Well said.
Right.
On that note, it's noon. So why don't we give our sign off? We're coming back in an hour with a guest, Jeremy. Is Jeremy here? Jeremy,
he just bounced out.
Stepped out.
He bounces out and.
Who's our guest?
Bill Hodder.
Bill Hodder. Thank you.
Yeah, Yang chauffeur.
Mm-hmm.
So that's great. We'll be on a Zoom call for that. Let's give our sign-offs now. I'm going to edit this, and we'll see probably some of you again very soon.
Okay, let's start.
Yeah.
Andrew. Oh, okay. My name's Ariel. You can find me on Twitter at Ariels_Armada. That's ARIELS_ARMADA. And I'm also Revolutionary Thinking on YouTube. Oh, and now I'm Ariel's on Instagram.
Nice. Angelo.
My name is Angelo Mendoza. You can find me at Hellion Hellfire on Twitter.
Thank you. Disdonn.
I'm Disdonn. You can find me on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube at Disdonn Plays, DISDONNPLAYS. And I'm probably not going to be able to join you guys for anything the rest of the weekend because I'm working on charity marathons all weekend. So, I'll see you guys again next week.
What charities are you supporting this weekend?
This weekend, on my stream, I've still got the NAACP up for the Black Lives Matter for this month. My LGBT charity is supporting Trans Lifeline, and we're supporting, I think it's St. Jude's or one of the other children's cancer funds for a COVID relief this weekend for Benelux speed gaming.
The URLs for those?
For the one, it's going to be on mine. The Black Lives Matter is going to be on mine, twitch.tv/DisdonPlays. The all month for the LGBT for Trans Lifeline, that's going to be retro__rainbow on Twitch. and the Benelux is going to be at the ESA Marathon. So it's going to be twitch.tv/ESA Marathon.
Cool. I really appreciate coming on here in the morning before your big weekend. So it's always good to see you. And Sheridan.
It is always good to see Disdonn here. Thank you, Shael. I'm Sheridan. You can find me on Twitch at JSaberGamer, JSABERGAMER. Thank you so much, guys. And yes, this is Pride Month, and all of it is also Wrath Month. Protest, wash your hands, wear a mask.
Absolutely. And I am at ShaelRiley on Twitter, Shael Riley. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you again shortly. Stay safe. Don't get sick. Take care of each other out there.